Welcome to the next keynote speaker, Rafia, and she's a senior research manager at Ericsson. She's also affiliated with the KTH. She's a professor at KTH University as well, and she has been working for a while in topics like trustworthy AI and explainable AI. And we are very happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, and happy to be here. So the talk today is the role of trustworthy AI and explainable AI for the telecom in specific and society in general. The main topics I would like to cover is the first introductory part on the Ericsson and Ericsson Research, a bit of bragging, but bear with me. I will be quick on that. But then why trustworthy AI parts and where the regulations are going on. Christina set a very good scene, the ethical parts. I don't need to talk about it. I will move forward with focusing more on the technological aspects and then a bit of regulation aspects. Then why it's important for us in the telecom domain, and then a bit of practical examples or use cases from our industry, so that you can get a bit of flavor how things are going on in the industry part. So the first part, the Ericsson, I think you all know, founded in 1876. And then the 1878, this was the first phone. 1884 part, that was a manual exchange. Then 1923, that was a mechanical switch. And then the things started to change. So if you can someone guess 1956 what this thing looks like?
Mobile phone.
Yes, that is the first mobile phone. Its weight was 4 kilograms. It was not very mobile practically. But then you see that from 1956 to 1990s, how much change do we have? And now you know the era. I will not cover all each and every thing. But then in the Ericsson, not just the telephones or exchanges and the switches, we say that, well, the data mobility is the function. Every G is period of 10 generations. So the telecom, it goes in the 10-year cycle. So we will expect like 6G around 2029. It will start in 2030, like that part. And then I'm very proud to say that all Gs are invented at Ericsson Research. And I'm coming from research, so we are Ericsson Research is total of all these places, the white dots around the world, more than around 800 people, researchers, like who are the full-time employees, not including the affiliated faculty or the PhD students or all that part, the regular employees, and then more than 50% are the PhDs there. The research areas, we have like 8 different research areas. Of course, radio networks, cloud systems are the basic, but then the AI is also the big one. And then we also work on the hardware devices, security, digital representation, and then the industry labs. I'm coming from the research area AI. We are around 100 people. And then this is my group. So the work I present here is from all of us. So we start now. See more serious topics, the trustworthy AI part. So according to the definition of the AI law, the trustworthy AI is the term used to describe the AI should not risk health, safety, and fundamental rights. So these are the three key terms that the regulation, the European regulation is defining the trustworthy AI part is, or what we usually say that in simple terms, that AI should perform as it intended and it should not do any harm. And the harm should be both physically or ethically, and it should be to both devices or the physical building or anything around the world and the humans. So to everything. So trustworthiness of our overall system, it should be there by design. It should be integrated part of it. It should not be an ad hoc solution that you develop the system and then you think that, okay, now we should implement the trustworthy and look at whether it is meeting the regulations or not. No, you should start thinking when you should, from the start, when you begin with thinking about the solution, the trustworthiness should start at that point, and it should be integrated in the system at different phases of the system throughout the whole life cycle of the systems. Why it's important for the telecom or for the overall society? The first thing, there was a lot of talk and discussion in the first talk about the correctness and transparency of the models, and we all want to make and ensure that our models are giving us the correct results. They are correct. We want to make sure, we want to justify, and we want to also identify not just that why they made the certain decision, but also how they arrived on the certain decisions as well. What is the internal behaviors of our AI models? Yes?
How do you think about feedback loops in the sense that they're never going to perform to 100% perfectly, right?
No, they should be integral part of the whole life cycle of the systems. So like when we start develop the models, there are certain stages where you implement certain techniques to make sure that they are correct. But when you deploy the models of course, the data drift will be there, environment will change, the model will learn. And so the feedback loop becomes even more important at that point. And that raises another question that, okay, you certified a model and you made sure that, okay, the model is behaving correctly and the environment changed, the model retrained, then the new model.
Yeah.
How much to validate the new model and what to validate there. So, yeah.
So
Yes.
we have conversation or discussion to be designing a stage
Yeah.
with your colleagues in the
Yes.
example development and the
Yes.
designing of it.
Yes. That's what we are educating now. Yeah. So it should not harm, there should not be bias in the data, but also to meet the regulations and standards. And there are different standards going on all around the world. Of course, the AI-based regulation is one part, but then different industries will cover different standards. We are coming from the telecom. So we have this ETSI standards as well, for example. But then we are also under radio equipment directive standards, or we are also under the machinery regulation standards. Similarly, the robotics industry or the automotive industry, they will be under different standards. Healthcare will have to follow different standards. So we should identify, we are now adding additional regulations at top of those standardizations. But then the trustworthy AI, one other aspect which we identified while working on that part was the discovering the new and new behaviors and then the unexpected behaviors. That is also one thing that that we should not underestimate on.
What do you think are the main issues for telecom specifically?
I will come to that.
Okay.
Next slide. So this is a very short list of the ongoing regulations. It is not a complete or comprehensive list at all. This is just a glimpse to show you where the world is moving. Europe was quite ahead from the start. They gave first, the European Commission gave the ethics guidelines, then they provided us the assessment list for trustworthy AI. And now from last year, August 2024, the EU AI Act is into force. and Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and very many other big companies, they started to give their own ethical guidelines in 2017, 18. But then different other bodies are working. US administration was working quite a lot. US executive order on safe, secure, trustworthy development in October 2023. It is a bit old. Biden administration gave that part, but that was not a regulation. That was just the guidelines. Yes, I'm coming to that. That was simply the guidelines that, okay, we should work on that and we should recruit the experts on those in different organizations, but it was not the regulation. Canadian Act is quite comprehensive. Data Act is quite comprehensive, but even after AI Act, the AI Act is the most regulated one, I would say. Yes, Christina.
So I was just curious because,
Yeah.
as you noted yourself, most of these are from the Biden administration. At the moment, it does look like this is then and now is now, and now we have the Trump administration.
Yes, exactly.
So how does the outlook look like that from your side? Because I think that they have this, they want to enforce that no states make any AI laws, which is of course in a sense going to make it less tricky to if you only have one. But it does not look like they're going to put up one of their own.
I don't think the Trump administration will go into that direction. It's really geopolitical now. So nothing, you see, after that, but nothing is there on my list as well from the US governmental side. Maybe the states give their own laws. There were some bills we have analyzed internally. Some bills came out in different in the parliament, but that is just a bill. That is not a nothing coming out from the government statement as such for now. But there is another aspect as well on that, that the US operators are asking, are you following the AI Act of the EU? So this is like, I think the world is a bit fragmented. We are in the early stage of these days. We need to see how it will move forward instead of me making here the geopolitical statement.
Because
yeah,
I know that questions you can't answer because the US is also trying to enforce that you don't follow a number of things in Europe.
Exactly.
But I think I have one more question actually.
Yeah.
Do you look into China? Do you have, because they also have regulation and guidelines and so on.
Yes,
some of them are really interesting.
Yeah.
So
I haven't read that in detail, but I know they are very much aligned towards their state policies.
Yes.
Yes, but they have their own guidelines and all those things. Yeah. India is moving forward. India is working on their guidelines. They are work in progress. I reviewed some of the recommendations which were given to their governments. So it's not just like this. I will say, I will cover and talk a lot on the EU regulations because we are first in EU, and the second, it is the most detailed, the comprehensive one, and the first one that we have currently. The others are cooking. But then to your first question, basically, it gives you a level playing field. If you are not following the regulation, it is a law, then you are out of the competition. You don't have the equal opportunity to compete. So it's the basic criteria that you need to meet if you are at least doing business in Europe. Yes.
Because you say level playing field, meaning I guess that if you want to be ethical, then the law gives you some guidance. Because if you don't care about being ethical, then no law gives you equally level playing field, right? If everything is allowed because there is no law, then this is also an even playing field.
Yeah.
But I guess if you want to be ethical, then the law helps. However, it only helps if the law is kind of sufficiently ethical. And I think the current regulations still allow you to do a lot of unethical things. So if you really
we
want
need to
be-
see, yes, because the law just came and it will become into force, like some things are already into force. For example, the prohibited systems or high risk systems, they are already not allowed, but some things we have a year to see that how the ethical aspects, to which level we will be able to fulfill. And it will be a journey, I think. No law was perfect. We see the vehicles on the roads. The laws also improved as we moved forward with the technology, and as we saw, oh, this thing can also happen, so we can make this law. Safety belt was not a law when the vehicles came, for example. Now it is a law that you must have it. In some countries, the passengers sitting at the back seat, they still don't have this the regulation to have the safety belt. Driver must have. So this will also see. But here, the fair competition, I mean, that you, for example, there are two companies want to sell their products in the Europe. One is saying I'm complying with the AI regulation and it is an AI product I have, and the other one saying I have an AI product which is very good and it is completely ethical, but I have not complied it with the regulation. That will not be allowed to sell. So it is out of competition from the start. It will not be allowed. So to do the business, you need to comply to the regulation. That's what I meant here.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
In which stage of the drafting a model or designing the project, ethical officer or compliance section of your comment?
It will depend on the use case. It will depend also different stages, I will say, of the model development. It is not just one stage. It is even before, like when you start thinking about the system, the first thing is what is your intended purpose of doing that part. So it is different parts. So it will enhance the customer trust. It will give you the CE marking. It will meet the standards of safety, transparency, of course. Yeah, but then it is giving you the competitive advantage as well. Like if you, for example, if you want to sell in US, you can sell any AI which may not be compliant to the regulation, European regulation, because it is allowed to sell it there, but it will give you a competitive advantage there. You can say that, yes, we have a CE marking, we are compliant with the EU regulation, and it is that. So, okay. I think I talked about why the trustworthy AI is important and why the regulations are important to me and why we must check the regulations seriously. We don't have an avoidance there. But then one interesting part, I think you all know the regulations are not applied to the research. You can do research on whatever you want. Regulation is applied only on the products that you want to sell in the market. If you are using them internally in your company or doing research or in the development phase, then you are allowed to do anything. The second part is that.
Sorry, a question because I wasn't sure I understood correctly.
Yeah.
It's not just about selling, right? It's making available. If I make
yes, exactly. If you are giving it to someone, then yes. If you are doing it for your internal research purposes, then it's okay. Then you can do that. And the second exemption is the what do you call it? Our surveillance companies and the governmental authorities and the army as well. I think they are exempt from the regulation. So now we go into the bit more of the details of the AI Act and how to go there and what are the challenges from the telecom perspective. So according to the EU regulation, they categorize the systems at different risk levels. Unacceptable risks or prohibited risks, such as social scoring, identifying faces, and that was prohibited after 6 months of the implementation of the law. So from February 2025 already, yeah, its deadline has been passed. For the high risk systems, the deadline is next year, August. So we have 1 year to go for that to meet all those high risk systems, which and then the limited risk systems comes like the chatbots, deepfake, recommendation algorithms, and that parts, and then the minimal risk system, which you can use basically. So the law covers both horizontal aspects and vertical aspects. Horizontal means the regulation does not differentiate that it is a medical device or is it a telecom operating system or it is what. But then you must cover your own. Yes, you have a question?
I want to know what's the main difference with the US regulation? Is it privacy or?
US doesn't have any regulation yet.
Okay, what's Google? I mean, those companies.
Those companies have provided just the recommendations, their guidelines, which they say that, okay, we are following. For example, we are not biased in the data or this or that. They have different just guidelines.
Yes, and sorry, I forgot to add something. And we have some international documents like as human guiding principle, OECD guidelines. I think human rights due diligence is the main part of these international documents, and all tech companies are responsible for following.
Yes. I
Okay.
have a question.
Yes.
So there is obviously a gap because the AI Act is enforced or supposed to be enforced, but on the same time there are many things that are missing, like the countries need to appoint organizations who will implement the AI Act. So when you're talking about unacceptable risk that is supposed to be enforced now, do you know how this is happening? Is there a process? Let's suppose I have a company today and I'm doing social scoring. How is it working? Who is stopping me from doing it? I'm sorry, it's a difficult question.
It is a difficult question, and ideally, they each country should have done that. I don't know anyone in Sweden, at least yet. I was asking this question from different people. I got a tentative name. Probably that authority will be appointed,
Yes.
but I'm not aware of who is appointed yet.
There isn't. That's why.
Yes. Yes. I hope.
Yeah.
There is a problem with no authority, but on the other hand, if you look at GDPR when it was started, right, no one had any idea.
Yeah.
So when we had our first GDPR fine, people started scrambling. That was the one with using facial recognition to recognize kids to count them in schools, which was like, I don't know, shooting mosquitoes with a cannon. Yeah, it's very.
Lots of things I have to say. If you review the Yebro article, Whitaker from Facebook, you can reach to the conclusion that big tech companies are not responsible in this regard, from my perspective.
But the things are moving forward, and they are moving forward quickly, even in the face towards regulation as well. So let's go back here a bit. For the high risk systems, these are the obligations. Companies must have a proper risk management system in place. They must meet all the AI requirements. And the AI requirements are data quality, record keeping and logging, transparency, human oversight, accuracy, cybersecurity, and robustness. They must register that in the EU database. There should be in place quality management system, and they must have a conformity assessment process. So basically, a lot of these requirements. So this raises a question for the small companies to put their efforts to comply to the regulation or to put their efforts into development of the AI systems. Yes.
So we talked about authorities, but what about consultation organization? Again, comparing to GDPR, when it started, like many consultation companies provided consultation services to let companies know that, okay, I am complying with this. Is there any consultation companies today in the market providing?
They are coming up. They are popping up gradually.
So there are.
They are popping up. Yeah. I know one or two only, not details, but
in Sweden or?
In Sweden as well. But there will be more coming up soon. Yeah. Yeah. I can give you the name afterwards. Also, at least one. All right. So the limited systems, the obligations are mostly on the requirement side, and then the act differentiates who is the provider, who is the deployer, who is the users, and then there are different requirements based on your specific role there. So the thing is that Anas asked the question that there are still gaps. Law, just like act is a law, it is written in a language which is not very technical to read. I will say it's a bit tedious to read that language. Developers, of course, will not read that part. We have tried to read and understand that it takes some time. But then whenever a law comes, then there are always respective standards to come. So that the purpose of the standards is twofold. First, to see, is there any existing standards exists to comply the regulation? Then the second part is to identify the gaps and then develop the standards on the gaps. So the advantage of the standard is that if you comply to the standard, that gives you the so-called conformity of assessment that yes, you are complying to the regulation. So the standards are important. The Commission gave the authority to Sense and Elect, which is the European body, to develop the standards. They are actively working on that part. The timeline was April 2025 to finalize the work. The deadline has been extended until August this year. But I think they will give the standards by end of the year. That is, don't quote me on that, but yes. And then to join the Sense and Elect, there are like 27 countries there in the body. The process of developing standard takes a lot of time because it is harmonized standards. It is harmonized because of different countries, each has their own view, different industries there. So the process of finalizing takes time. Like for each for topics, you need to create a ballot and then there will be 8 weeks of balloting period. So then you are just waiting for that for the ballot to move on further to the next step. The process takes time, but to join the Sense and Elect, you join through your own country's national body. So in Sweden, it is the SIS, the Svensk Institutet för Standards. That is through that part. You join the SIS part. So there was a question, I think, from here, that what are the challenges from the telecom side? So these are the challenges. I am not presenting all the challenges here. I just picked up a couple only. The first part is that we are not under the EU AI Act. We are under the machinery regulation and also the radio equipment directive part. And then the Act says that AI system intended to be used as a safety component in the critical digital infrastructure. So telecom equipment is the critical digital infrastructure. they are under the high risk, and third-party conformity assessment is mandatory for that. And the radio equipment directive says that the strictly safety component, our third-party conformity assessment is not mandatory for that. So which one to follow? Okay, then EU Act says components for cybersecurity are excluded. They are not high risk. But the radio equipment directive says that the cybersecurity components are mandatory for the third-party conformity assessments. So
What will you do?
what we do? Yes, that is the exact first, the next point. What should we do? So we collected all our concerns, the questions, not just the Ericsson, but all other partners together with this telecom service providers, Nokia, Huawei, and also the operators in EU, and we engaged with the Commission. So the Commission has received the feedback, and they have positively received the feedback that yes, we understand that this is the problem. They gave us the timeline of June to come back. I'm expecting just these days the response from them. So the feedback was provided to them through different forums. Digital Europe is one forum through which we provided them the feedback. The same feedback was provided through them through the GSMA forum, which is another telecom forum. And also I am going to this Fenelec part. Through there also the Commission people come. So that is the way to move forward.
Can I also ask a question?
Yes.
So, given the wide applicability of the telecom, so for example, I'm guessing you might not be able to foresee all the possible cybersecurity elements.
Yeah.
So how you're going to deal with that? Like, how is it good enough that you can start working on it, or like show that you have capability for certain scenarios, or like continuously improve it as the cases come up? Because that's I think very difficult application. It's widely spread.
Yeah. No, I fully agree to you. But the good thing with the cybersecurity and privacy, those two topics are that they were covered under the GDPR as well. So those two topics are fortunately not completely new. Of course, they pose new risks when it comes to the AI part, and that we need to take care and cover. But the good thing is that since they were under the GDPR, in the company we have the processes on how to identify the risks based on the cybersecurity, and we have like the units the incidents reporting unit that okay, if the incidents occurs, the proper investigation starts and that part. So it is not like starting from the scratch. To me, I'm more concerned about those things which are arising new from the AI part, and then how to cover those aspects. And as I mentioned before, it also depends on which category your system falls in. If it is in the high risk category, of course, the implication is very high of that. And the requirements are also, that's why the requirements are also, there was a long list. For the limited risk, the requirements were just basically the transparency requirements. Ericsson current portfolio falls under the limited category. We don't have anything falling under the high risk category, but it is not the case for for everything around us. We are living anyway in the society. We are not only concerned with the Ericsson parts, but for the other high risk systems, automotive is one, healthcare is another one. There are more concerns. There we are concerned on that, I think, as a society. There are some other challenges as well. For for Ericsson, they are saying that a system will be, AI system will be high risk if it is performing a safety task, it is in a safety component in management and operations of the critical digital infrastructure. So suppose there is a system, which currently there is none, but suppose there is a system, then there are some derogation rules. The text is small, but I will read it to you. The AI system is that even if it is a safety component, it will not be categorized as a high risk if AI system is intended to perform a narrow procedural task. Christina was talking about the narrow AI. If AI is intended to improve the results of the previous human activity, if it is intended to perform a preparatory task, etc. There are some derogation rules. So it is not very straightforward to even at the first place categorize that where your system falls in. And that is the risk management part, whether your systems fall under high risk or limited risk or no risk, you need to perform this identification part. You need to perform this first. So to cater for there within the sense and elect part, we are like within the sense and elect. There are many. There is Huawei, Nokia, the service provider. Then there are multiple operators are present there. Deutsche Telecom is there. Orange is there. Telefonica is there from Spain. So we have formed a group there to look into the vertical aspects, what will be needed, what are our challenges there to look into the telecom parts. We submitted a preliminary work item there to the secretariat for the ballot, and the ballot got approved in May. And now we are moving forward to identify how to basically what is needed for us to check the high-risk systems. The Commission has provided a tool at their website, which is a very lengthy questionnaire format. Okay, if it is this and this and this and this and this and this, but yeah, they have provided it as a general guidance to all the companies and everything, but we want to make it specific for the telecom sector. We don't need all those detailed part, and I think the other industries will also need different tooling. So I covered a bit. I gave you a bit of glimpse what is the regulation and what will be the implication, why we should follow it. But then what we need in the industry to do that part. The first thing is understanding the regulation and understanding what is relevant there for your specific industry. That is the first thing. Then putting it into your own strategy and into your own architecture. It should, and I mentioned already, it should be the integrated solution. It should not be an ad hoc solution. And then not just that part, but develop a process to follow, to comply to the regulation, because we need the conformity assessment that yes, we conform to that. And there were many concerns and questions that at which stage to follow the regulation and that part. So there should be the proper processes at the design phase, at the implementation phase, at the testing phase, at the deployment phase, and then when the systems are running at the monitoring phase as well. So the process, what to do, at which stage, and then, yeah, incorporating it properly into the portfolio. And then on the right side, I will share the screen. You can have some of our work that we have done in the past years, but this is all this work is just at the Ericsson.com a bit publicity material. Technical, but still. But we have like many research papers as well, which will come on the next part. So the next part, a bit of use cases and the technical work. Now going a bit deep. I covered like a lot of horizontal aspects. So we work a lot on the transparency. As I said, that Ericsson current portfolio falls under the limited risk, and the transparency requirement we have to meet. But in any way, if we disregard the regulation, the explainable AI gives us many other advantages. It makes us understand the black box nature of the model, how the AI is working and how it is arriving at a certain decision, the internal behaviors of the models, in addition to the transparency. But one very important and good thing is to identify the corner cases. And like we have worked with our experts who has like thousands and thousands of lines of data, and they analyze the data, they develop the models based on that data and when we applied our explainable AI methods, we still identified like one corner case or two corner cases on that data. And then they were saying, why the model is giving us this strange behavior? It should not be like this. And so this is a plus point also of the technology, that some things which humans can miss, the technology can identify. But then there comes a trade-off. How much to explain and how much to keep it proprietary from the industry aspect. This is a very, very important question. And then we say that not everything will be for the external customers, but many things will be used by the internal users, developers, testers, model monitors, our operators. So yeah, at different stages of the life cycle. Yes, please.
I expect you see external customers.
Yes.
And my thinking is trust.
Yes.
So explainability. I come from Ericsson, but I left it recently. One of the things that you need to do is if the external customers, meaning operators, mostly in this case, should trust the software enough to use it in their network, then they need to have a certain amount of transparency.
Yes.
So that's also been one of the driving aspects behind Explainable AI.
It is. Yeah. It is indeed. Verizon is asking about too much explainability. There is no regulation, but they are the most one asking, and all the others as well. Not just the explainability of the models, but also the process that the transparency of the process to follow that we follow to develop the models. Both parts.
And there you have a parallel with the security, with the rules and the processes you have for developing the software with those regulations in mind.
Yeah. 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 Yes. Yes, I'm just finished. I think I'm finishing. Okay, 5 minutes, then we need to skip. And this was the question where to implement. So the explainable AI, we implemented different life cycle, different stages of the life cycle models at the design phase, training phase, validated phase, inference phase, and even at the execution phase to capture the drifts as well. Different types of explainability, like if you see here, like this is the HC automation loop, and but it is very generic. It is applicable to all the domains. You gather the data, you apply machine learning, you get the insights, and then you give it to the reasoning method along with some rules in the system which gives you some recommendations or decisions. If it is an fully automated system, then you will follow this blue line to actuate it, or if there is a human in the loop, then the human will approve which recommendation to choose or that part. And then if you add explainability there, the explainability could be different. There are different methods for the data, for machine learning, for machine reasoning, for reinforcement learning, and then there is another aspect there of system level explainability, and this paper was a bit old, but now we are looking at also at the the trustworthiness and explainability, what will be needed for the agentic AI when the different agents will be communicating. Then it will not be just the explainability of this model or explainability of that model. Then it will be the system level explainability, how different systems will trust each other and how will they communicate with each other. Some examples. This was a very basic use case we did for so the basic part of this was the automation process. Prediction analysis using simple machine learning regression models. But then if you identify a violation which will occur in the future, or which has the potential to occur in the future, then identify the cause, recommend the solution so that you can avoid that violation. That was the whole scenario there. Whoops. Okay. So we identified and implemented and tested different models, that which explainable AI model works the better. The explainable AI gives us results like this in the form of the parameters. And it gives us the feature importers, so these are different methods giving us the top 5 main features which were the cause of the violation. So the developers and the testers will understand, or the model monitors, they will understand which these parameters will relate to. Of course, the customer might not understand, or a high-level manager will not understand what this is giving it to me. But essentially, what these parameters, if you see the TCP timeout, or the byte sent Q5, or server TCP connection failed requests, all these means that they identified that, okay, there was a port congestion here. So this analysis was given to a machine reasoning method and a planner which planned that, okay, we can, this was congested, we can reroute from here, but then the application needs to be reinstantiated there. So a solution of the recommendation. So it was explainable AI, not just providing the transparency, but enabling automation. This was the use case there. But then we have worked a lot on the reinforcement learning based explainability method. So the reinforcement learning, the agent learns from the environment all the time. And based on that, like if it gets the positive rewards or a negative reward, it learns the policy. The green boxes are the methods that we have implemented to explain the reinforcement learning part. I would like to explain one method, which is the autonomous policy explanation. We implemented it for our telecom use case. This is the example from our robotic use case. So I just want to give you the idea what type of explanation it gives. You can ask the question, when, why didn't, or what if questions, these types of questions, and then it gives you the responses. and it is not a generative model or large language model. Okay?
Yeah.
It is just, so when do you slow down? And the robot was giving us, I will slow down when this happens, or what will you do if this thing happens? So this, we have applied it on our own use cases to get the explanation. And this method is one thing. Whenever we show it to the customers, they become super excited on this one somehow. Yes.
So does the data for this one, this might be a newbie question. The data for what it answers, does it have anything to do with the data for the actions it actually does? Or is this separate processes?
No, it takes the.
So let's say it's you have a robot that's going here, right?
Yeah.
And finds a obstacle. There's a table there,
Yeah.
right? And it will slow down because it recognizes its image processor recognizes the table, and it's kind of like, okay, so fair enough, this is this kind of type. Then I should slow down. This is not the same thing as what happens when it answers the question, right? This is an entirely different process. So how are they aligned?
It takes it from the predicate from the system.
Yeah.
Yes. And then it translates those predicates. What was the conditions at that time when it slowed down?
Yes.
So it
Yes,
explains the
I get that,
behavior from that part.
Good, because
Yes.
this is a general question. What do you do when your medium speed also been monotone? Another thing is, of course, that if it slows down,
Yes,
you ask
this
why
one
did you
is
slow
a
down?
bit general question.
Yes, good.
And
good.
then that one was not.
Yes,
But this one is, and then it checks all the possible conditions. Here it is, and I slow down because of the formulation of this question. Otherwise, sometimes it gives you multiple lined answer that in this situation, I will do this and this and this.
Yes, but the real situations are so much more complex. So in a
Yes.
sense, right, it means that to explainability is just like what's an obstacle, what's medium
Yes,
speed,
yes.
how do you recognize them, when do you fail? It's how should you say it? It's because trust is so complicated because we don't necessarily want people to trust things. We want people to trust trustworthy things, right?
Yes, yes.
Exactly. Yeah, I know
No,
you know, right?
you are right. And the method is just a very, very initial method.
Yes.
We have identified so many limitations on the method also, but I'm just saying,
no,
just due to the explanatory nature,
yeah,
everyone somehow gets so much on that part.
Yeah.
And we have improved the existing method now when we are working on that part. And now we are doing more research onto making it more scalable and more generalized.
Yeah.
But that was just the starting point of the explanatory parts.
Thank you.
Yes, we in 1 minute, please. Sorry, sorry. A lot of discussion.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So you see, autonomous policy explanations for external customers and these types of the detailed graphs explanations for our internal use, I will say. Yeah. And then you find some of our research papers, the links below to check the details, and then you see. I covered all that. So what's next? Basically, we need trustworthy AI systems. Explainability should be there by design. And then, of course, we are applying it to the 6G and driving the thought leadership. But then I want to cover here, the thing is that regulations are coming up. So there are regulatory bodies should be in the society. Lawyers should be there. They should also learn on that part. Cases will go into the court and then we will see. So it is not just that, hey, that the research or industry can do something alone. No, we all need to work hand in hand, because in the end, it is like the society we are developing. We need to work a lot with academia to identify new and more methods so that we can have the better solutions for that thought. Industry needs to implement and to work together with the regulation and standardization bodies and the governmental bodies together. So the need of working together is even more now to develop a better society, I would say. Thank you.